The Nemesis was the biggest ship humans had ever built. It was 5 miles long and as black as space itself. Right now, it floated silently among the stars, far from any sun or planet. Inside the ship, the crew worked quietly. They all knew what their mission was. They all remembered what had happened to New Sol. Captain Jin Ho stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. He was 53 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face that rarely smiled anymore. Not since the attack. He looked at the big screen in front of him that showed nothing but empty space and distant stars. "Captain," said Su Bin, the woman who ran the ship's weapons systems, "all gravity cannons are ready. Power levels at 100%. Jin Ho nodded but said nothing. The gravity cannons were the most powerful weapons ever made by humans. They could break a planet apart by pulling it in different directions, at once. 5 years ago, he would have said such weapons should never be built. But 5 years ago, the Krelltak had not yet attacked New Sol. "Sir," called Haiwan from his station at the sensors. "Message from Earth Command." Jin Ho walked to the communication screen. The face of Admiral Tay appeared. She looked tired. "Captain Kim," she said, "the Council has given final approval. Your mission is now active. You are to proceed to the Krelltak base in the Arcturus system and eliminate their forward operating base. Show them what happens when they attack human worlds." "Yes, Admiral," Jin Ho replied. "What about civilians?" Admiral Tay's face hardened. "Did they care about our civilians when they hit New Sol? 2 million dead in one day, Captain. Children playing in parks, families in their homes, all gone." She took a deep breath. "But we are not them. If you can avoid killing non-combatants, do so. But the military base must be destroyed completely. We need to show them that humans are not easy targets." "Understood, Admiral. Nemesis will complete the mission." When the screen went dark, Jin Ho turned to his crew. 10 faces looked back at him. 10 people who would help him destroy a world. They were all volunteers. All of them had lost someone in the New Sol attack. "Set course for the Arcturus system," he ordered. "Maximum speed." Young Ho, the pilot, worked his controls. "Course set, Captain. Faster than light engines powering up." Jin Ho sat in his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew prepared for the jump to faster than light travel. This was always a dangerous moment. The engines bent space itself, letting the ship move faster than light could travel. If something went wrong, they could end up inside a star or lost forever between galaxies. "FTL ready, Captain," Young Ho reported. "Engage," Jin Ho said. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines, and then the ship was surrounded by the swirling colors of hyperspace. The Nemesis had begun its journey. It would take 3 days to reach the Arcturus system. During those 3 days, Jin Ho barely slept. He spent hours looking at the plans of the Krelltak base they would attack. It was built on the largest moon of a gas giant planet. The base was the size of a small city, with hangars for warships and launch pads for the planet-killer missiles that had destroyed New Sol. On the 3rd day, Minji, the ship's doctor, came to see him in his quarters. "You need to sleep, Captain," she said. "You can't fight if you're too tired to think." Jin Ho looked at her. "Every time I close my eyes, I see my daughter. She was visiting her friend in New Sol that day. They were going to a concert." Minji nodded. She understood. Her husband had been teaching at New Sol University when the attack came. "I see Sung every night too," she said. "But he wouldn't want me to fail because I was too exhausted to do my job, and your daughter wouldn't want that either." Jin Ho knew she was right. He lay down on his bed and closed his eyes. This time, he didn't see his daughter's face. Instead, he dreamed of planets breaking apart, and he was the one breaking them. He woke up 4 hours later when the ship's alarm sounded. He rushed to the bridge. "Report," he ordered as he entered. Haiwan looked up from his sensor station. "Captain, we're approaching the Arcturus system, but there's something strange. We're picking up more ships than intelligence said would be here. Many more." Jin Ho looked at the tactical display. It showed not just the moon base they had come to destroy, but a fleet of at least 30 Krelltak warships in orbit around it. "It's a staging area," said Jiwan, the tactical officer. They must be preparing for another attack on our colonies. Jinho felt cold anger fill him. If they had arrived a few days later, this fleet might have already left to kill more humans. Take us in slowly, he ordered. Keep the stealth systems running. The Nemesis moved silently into the Arcturus system, its special coating and energy shields making it nearly invisible to sensors. They passed the outer planets, frozen balls of ice and rock. Then came the asteroid belt, filled with thousands of spinning rocks. Finally, they approached the huge gas giant with its many moons. There, Subin pointed at the display. That's the base. And look at those ships. Troop carriers, missile cruisers, and those big ones are their dreadnoughts. Jinho studied the enemy fleet. If those ships reached human space, millions more would die. Can we take out the whole fleet? He asked. Jiwan thought for a moment. If we position ourselves just right, a gravity pulse aimed at the moon would catch most of the fleet in its effect. They're too close to the base. Jinho made his decision. Bring us into firing position, prepare the main gravity cannon. The Nemesis moved silently around the gas giant, using its massive gravity to hide their approach. They came up behind the moon where the base was built. We're in position, Captain, Young-ho reported. They still don't see us. Jinho stood up. This was the moment everything had led to. His finger hovered over the firing control on his chair. Sir, Subin said quietly, we're detecting civilian transports near the base. There could be non-combatants. Jinho hesitated. Admiral Tay's words came back to him. We are not them. But he also remembered the images from New Seoul. The schools and hospitals destroyed. The parks where children had played turned to smoking craters. Send a warning, he ordered. Tell any civilian ships to move away from the moon immediately. Give them 10 minutes. Juyun, the communications officer, sent the message on all frequencies. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then, 3 small ships detached from the moon base and moved rapidly away. Those are the only ones moving, sir, Haewon reported. Either there are no other civilians, or they're not being allowed to leave. Jinho nodded grimly. Lock gravity cannon on target, full power. Subin's fingers moved over her console. Gravity cannon locked on target, Captain. Awaiting your command. Jinho took a deep breath. What he was about to do would kill thousands, but if he didn't do it, millions of humans might die in the next attack. He thought of his daughter one last time, then pressed the firing control. Fire, he said. The Nemesis shuddered as the gravity cannon released its energy. On the view screen, nothing seemed to happen at first. Then slowly the surface of the moon began to ripple like water. The Kreltak ships nearest to the base tried to move away, but it was too late. The gravity weapon pulled in all directions at once, tearing matter apart at the atomic level. The moon cracked like an egg. The Kreltak base collapsed into dust. 27 enemy warships were crushed or torn apart by the gravity waves. Only a few ships at the edges of the fleet escaped destruction. Jinho watched in silence. The weapon had worked perfectly. The Kreltak had learned that humans could hit back. Hard. Send a message to the surviving ships, Jinho ordered. Tell them this is what happens when you attack human worlds. Tell them we have more ships like the Nemesis, and we know where their colonies are. As Ju-eun sent the message, Jinho sat back in his chair. He felt no joy, no triumph. Only the grim satisfaction of a necessary job completed. The Nemesis had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after destroying the Kreltak moon base, the Nemesis remained in the Arcturus system. Captain Jinho had ordered the ship to hide in the rings of the gas giant planet. From here, they could watch for any Kreltak ships coming to investigate what had happened. Captain, called Haewon from his sensor station, I'm picking up multiple ships entering the system. They're coming in fast. Jinho walked to the sensor display. How many? 15 ships, sir. Bigger than the ones we destroyed. These look like their main battle fleet. Jinho felt his heart beat faster. The Nemesis was powerful, but 15 large Kreltak warships would be a serious challenge. Keep us hidden in the rings, he ordered. Let's see what they do. The crew watched as the Kreltak ships approached the broken moon. The aliens sent out small scout ships that flew around the debris field, scanning the remains of their base. "They're looking for us," said Jiwan. "They know this wasn't a natural disaster." For 2 hours, the Kreltak ships searched the system. They seemed angry, flying in aggressive patterns and scanning everything. Finally, they gathered near the broken moon. "Sir," said Juoyun from communications. "They're broadcasting something. It's on all frequencies." "Let's hear it," Jin Ho said. A harsh, grating voice filled the bridge. The Kreltak language sounded like rocks being crushed. But after a few moments, the ship's computer translated. "Humans, we know you are hiding in this system. What you have done will not be forgotten. For the destruction of our base, we will destroy 3 of your colonies. You have awakened the full might of the Kreltak Confederation. Your species will be exterminated." Jin Ho's face hardened. "They still think they can threaten us after what we just showed them we can do." "Sir," said Subin, "should we attack now? We could take out several of their ships before they know where we are." Jin Ho thought for a moment. "No. We have a different message to send." He turned to Juwon. "Prepare to broadcast on their frequencies. I want them to see me." The communications officer set up the camera. Jin Ho stood straight, his face calm but determined. "Broadcasting now, Captain," Juwon said. Jin Ho looked directly into the camera. "Kreltak Fleet, this is Captain Jin Ho Kim of the Earth warship Nemesis. We destroyed your base and 27 of your ships as payment for what you did to New Seoul. That was just one of our ships. We have built many more like the Nemesis, and they are being sent to your home systems right now." He paused to let that sink in, then continued. "You started this war. We will finish it unless—" "Sir," Haewon interrupted urgently. "The Kreltak ships are powering weapons." Jin Ho nodded but continued his message. "Unless you agree to meet with our diplomats to discuss peace. This is your only chance. The next time we meet, we will not show mercy." He signaled Ju-Yun to end the transmission. Then he turned to Young Ho. "Get us out of these rings, full power to shields." The Nemesis burst out of the gas giant's rings, dust and ice flying off its black hull. The Kreltak ships immediately opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human vessel. "Evasive maneuvers," Jin Ho ordered. "Subin, target their lead ship with the secondary gravity cannons." Young Ho's hands flew over the controls. The massive human ship moved with surprising grace, dodging most of the Kreltak attacks. The few shots that hit were absorbed by the powerful shields. Subin targeted the largest enemy ship and fired. The gravity weapon was set to a lower power than when they had destroyed the moon, but it was still devastating. The Kreltak ship bent in the middle as gravity pulled it in 2 directions at once. With a flash of escaping atmosphere, it broke apart. "Direct hit," Subin reported. The other Kreltak ships spread out, trying to surround the Nemesis. They fired continuously, their weapons slowly wearing down the human ship's shields. "Shields at 60%, reported Jiwan. "We can't take fire from all directions for long." Jin Ho studied the tactical display. The Kreltak had them outnumbered, but the Nemesis was more powerful than any single enemy ship. "Target the nearest 3 ships, he ordered. "Full power to forward shields." The Nemesis turned to face one group of Kreltak vessels, concentrating its shield power to block their attacks. The gravity cannons fired again, catching 2 enemy ships. One was torn apart immediately. The other spun away, badly damaged. But while they were focused on those targets, the other Kreltak ships hit the Nemesis from behind. The ship shuddered violently. "Hull breach in Section 4, Jiwan called out, sealing emergency doors. Jin Ho gripped his chair as the ship shook again. "How many of them can we take out before they disable us?" "Maybe half," Subin answered grimly. "Not enough." Jin Ho knew she was right. The Nemesis was powerful, but against so many ships they would eventually lose. They needed to escape and report back to Earth about the size of the Kreltak fleet. Then Young Ho spoke up. "Captain, what about the gas giant? If we use the main gravity cannon on it?" Jin Ho understood immediately. It was an extreme measure, but it might be their only chance. All power to engines, he ordered. Take us closer to the gas giant. I want us right next to its atmosphere. The Nemesis raced toward the huge planet, the Kreltak ships following close, behind. The human ship's engines strained as they fought against the gas giant's gravity. We're in position, Captain, Young-Ho reported. All Kreltak ships are following us, added Haewon. They're right behind us. Jin-Ho took a deep breath. What he was about to do would change this star system forever. Aim the main gravity cannon at the planet's core, he ordered. Maximum power. Subin looked shocked. Sir, I know what it will do. Jin-Ho cut her off. Do it. She nodded and entered the commands. Gravity cannon aimed at planetary core. Maximum power. Ready. To fire. Fire, Jin-Ho said quietly. The Nemesis shuddered as its main weapon discharged directly into the gas giant. For a few seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then, deep within the planet, hydrogen that had been compressed for billions of years was suddenly freed from gravity's grip. The planet began to glow brighter. Its atmosphere swirled violently. Full power to engines, Jin-Ho shouted. Get us out of here. The Nemesis turned and accelerated away from the gas giant as fast as its engines could push it. Behind them, the Kreltak ships seemed confused by their sudden retreat. Then the planet exploded. A shockwave of superheated gas expanded outward, in all directions. The Kreltak ships closer to the planet than the Nemesis were caught in the blast. One by one, they were engulfed by the burning gases and destroyed. The Nemesis raced ahead of the shockwave, its engines straining at maximum power. The ship shook violently as the edge of the blast caught them, pushing them forward like a leaf in a storm. When it was finally over, Haewon checked his sensors. All Kreltak ships destroyed, Captain. The gas giant. It's gone. There's just a new asteroid field where it used to be. Jin-Ho looked at the view screen. Where the huge planet had been, there was now just a spreading cloud of gas and debris. The moons that had orbited it were flying off in different directions, freed from the planet's gravity. He had just destroyed a planet, not a colony world, thankfully, but still an entire planet. The Kreltak fleet was gone, but at what cost? Set course for Earth, he said quietly. We need to report what happened here. As the Nemesis limped away from the Arcturus system, Jin-Ho went to his quarters. He sat alone in the dark for a long time. The Nemesis had been built to protect humanity, but he wondered if such power should exist at all. Today they had destroyed an uninhabited planet to save themselves. What would they do tomorrow? But he remembered New Sol. He remembered his daughter. And he knew that as long as the Kreltak threatened human worlds, the Nemesis would continue its mission. Humanity would survive no matter the cost. The Nemesis limped back toward Earth. The battle with the Kreltak fleet had damaged the ship badly. 3 crew members had died when part of the hull was breached. Captain Jin-Ho held a small service for them in the ship's common area, saying, "A few words about each person. They died protecting humanity," he said to the gathered crew. "We will remember them." After the service, Jin-Ho returned to the bridge. The ship's damage reports filled his screen. Repair teams were working around the clock, but some systems couldn't be fixed without a proper dock. How long until we reach Earth, he asked. At our current speed, 6 days, Young-Ho replied from the pilot's seat. The engines are running at 60% capacity. Jin-Ho nodded. Keep our course steady. We need to... Captain, Haewon interrupted from the sensor. Station. Something's appearing behind us. Jin-Ho turned to the main view screen. A strange distortion was forming in space. It looked like a hole opening in the fabric of reality itself. Battle stations, Jin-Ho ordered. Charge what weapons we can. The crew rushed to their positions. The damaged Nemesis prepared for another fight, though Jin-Ho knew they couldn't survive another serious battle. The distortion grew larger. Then, a ship emerged from it. But it wasn't a Kreltak ship. It was like nothing they had ever seen before. It was huge, at least twice the size of the Nemesis and shaped like a giant ring with spokes leading to a central hub. It glowed with a soft blue light. Is it charging weapons? Jin-Ho asked. Subin checked her readings. I don't detect any weapon signatures we recognize, but it's scanning us with some kind of energy beam. Shields up, Jinho ordered. Ju-un, broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we will defend ourselves if attacked. Before Ju-un could send the message, the view screen changed. The image of a being appeared. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale blue, its eyes large and silver. It had no hair and its head was slightly too big for its body. Humans of the vessel Nemesis, the being said in perfect English. I am Do-hyun of the Architects. You have disturbed the balance of this sector. Jinho stepped forward. I am Captain Jinho Kim. We were defending ourselves against the Kreltak who attacked our colonies without warning. The being called Do-hyun tilted its head. The destruction of a gas giant is not self-defense. It is an act that could destabilize an entire star system. We had no choice, Jinho replied. They would have destroyed us and then attacked more human worlds. Do-hyun was silent for a moment. We have been watching both your species. The Kreltak attacked first, this is true. But your response? It gestured, and an image appeared beside it, showing the explosion of the gas giant. This level of destruction cannot be allowed. Jinho felt anger rise in him. Where were you when the Kreltak killed millions on New Seoul? Where were your rules then? We observe, Do-hyun said. We rarely interfere. But what happened in the Arcturus system has forced our hand. Your weapon, this gravity cannon, is too similar to technology that once nearly destroyed this galaxy. We cannot allow its continued use. So you're here to destroy us, Jinho said flatly. To protect your rules. Do-hyun shook its head. No, we are here to prevent further destruction. We wish to speak with your leaders, but first you will come to our vessel. Jinho looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. They had already fought one alien species. Were they now facing another threat? Why should we trust you? Jinho asked. Because we could have destroyed your ship without speaking to you, Do-hyun replied simply. And because we can help you end this conflict without more death. Jinho considered his options. The Nemesis was damaged. They couldn't fight this new ship. And if these architects could help stop the war with the Kreltak, I will come, he said finally. Alone. Captain, no, Ji-won protested. It could be a trap. Jinho shook his head. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. He turned to Subin. If I'm not back in 3 hours, or if they make any aggressive moves, use whatever weapons we have left and run for Earth. Tell them everything that happened. Before anyone could argue further, a beam of light surrounded Jinho. He felt a strange, tingling sensation, and then he was no longer on the bridge of the Nemesis. He found himself in a large circular room. The walls, floor, and ceiling all glowed with the same soft blue light as the architect ship. Do-hyun stood nearby, watching him with those strange silver eyes. Welcome to the Preserver, the alien said. Few humans have ever set foot on an architect vessel. Jinho looked around. Why am I here? What do you want? To show you something, Do-hyun replied. Follow me. The alien led Jinho through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Sometimes they walked on the walls or ceiling, but it always felt like they were walking on the floor. Jinho felt dizzy, but kept following. Finally, they entered another, large room. In the center was what looked like a pool of silver liquid. This is the memory pool, Do-hyun explained. It contains the history of this galaxy, including the history of both humans and Kreltak before either of you reached the stars. Jinho stared at the pool. What does this have to do with the war? Everything, Do-hyun said. Step into the pool. Jinho hesitated, but then stepped forward. As his foot touched the silver liquid, his mind was suddenly filled with images and feelings. He saw Earth as it was millions of years ago. He saw strange beings, the architects, visiting, studying the primitive life forms there. He saw them doing the same on the Kreltak homeworld. Then he saw something shocking. Both humans and Kreltak had been guided, their evolution subtly shaped by the architects. Both species were part of some grand experiment. The images shifted. Jinho saw a terrible war long ago between factions of the architects. Some wanted to let their created species develop naturally. Others wanted to use them as weapons. The war had nearly destroyed the galaxy. When Jinho stepped out of the pool, he was shaking. "You made us," he said. "Both humans and Kreltech. We're your experiments." Do-hyun nodded. "Not exactly experiments, more like children. Different branches of the same family. You were never meant to destroy each other." "Then why let the Kreltech attack us?" Jinho demanded. "We cannot control all actions of either species," Do-hyun explained. "We set you on your paths, but you make your own choices. The Kreltech chose aggression. You chose revenge. So what now?" Jinho asked. "The Kreltech will keep attacking us." "Not if they understand the truth," Do-hyun said. "We have contacted them as well. Their leader is coming here. You will meet." Jinho felt panic rise in him. "Meet a Kreltech? After what they did to New Seoul? To my daughter?" "Yes," Do-hyun said firmly. "Because the alternative is the extinction of one or both of your species. Is that what you want? For humanity to survive by becoming the destroyers you fear the Kreltech to be?" Jinho had no answer. He thought of the nemesis, of the gravity cannon, of the planet they had destroyed. Was this what humanity would become? Destroyers of worlds? "I will meet with them," he said finally. "But I make no promises about peace." "That is enough for now," Do-hyun replied. "Come. They are waiting." Do-hyun led Jinho to yet another room. This one was divided in half by a transparent barrier. On the other side stood a Kreltech. Jinho had never seen one in person before. It was tall, nearly 8 feet, with dark red skin that looked like armor. It had 4 arms and a head that seemed too small for its body. Its eyes were black and cold. "This is War Leader Koda of the Kreltech Confederation," Do-hyun announced. "War Leader, this is Captain Jinho Kim of Earth." The Kreltech looked at Jinho with those black eyes. "So you are the destroyer of our base," it said, its voice deep and rumbling. "The killer of our warriors. And you are the species that destroyed New Seoul." Jinho replied coldly. "That killed millions of innocent humans. That killed my daughter." The 2 enemies stared at each other across the barrier, both filled with hate, both believing they were right. Do-hyun looked between them. "Now you will both learn the truth," it said, "about why this war started, about who is really responsible." The room darkened and images appeared in the air between them, images that would change everything both humans and Kreltech believed about their war, images that would force Captain Jinho to question everything he had done in the name of revenge. The true enemy was about to be revealed. The images that appeared between Jinho and the Kreltech war leader were clear and shocking. They showed meetings between Kreltech leaders and human officials that had never happened. They showed fake attacks on Kreltech colonies that humans had never carried out. Then they showed similar false images that had been shown to humans, of Kreltech planning attacks long before New Seoul. "These are lies," Jinho said, his voice shaking with anger. "The Kreltech attacked New Seoul without warning. Millions died." The Kreltech war leader, Koda, made a harsh sound that might have been a laugh. "And you destroyed our forward base without cause. You started this war." Do-hyun raised a hand, and the images paused. "Both of you believe you were attacked first. Both of you believe you are defending yourselves." The architect's silver eyes moved from Jinho to Koda and back. "Both of you are wrong." New images appeared. These showed a third group of aliens. They were tall and thin with gray skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Their eyes were large and completely black. "The Vex," Do-hyun explained, "a species that thrives on conflict. They have done this many times before, starting wars between developing civilizations." "Why?" Jinho asked, still not fully believing. "What do they gain?" "The Vex feed on energy released during destruction," Do-hyun said. "Not the physical energy, but the emotional energy of fear, hatred, and death. The more destruction, the more they feed." Koda made a rumbling sound deep in its chest. "You expect us to believe this? That we have been tricked into war by these scavengers?" "I will show you proof," Do-hyun said. The architect touched the wall, and part of it became transparent. Beyond it was another room, where a gray, thin alien was being held in some kind of energy field. This is a Vex operative we captured near your home system, Do-hyun told Koda. It was preparing to show your leaders false evidence of humans planning a major attack. Jinho stared at the alien. It looked weak, not like a creature that could cause so much death. How do they do it? How do they fake these images? The Vex are masters of deception, Do-hyun explained. They can create perfect simulations indistinguishable from reality. They planted these false memories into the minds of key leaders on both sides. Jinho thought about Admiral Tae, about how certain she had been that the Kreltak were planning to attack more human colonies. Had her mind been tampered with? Had they all been manipulated? If this is true, Jinho said slowly, then the destruction of New Seoul was carried out by the Kreltak. Do-hyun confirmed. But only because they were shown false evidence that humans were about to unleash a biological weapon that would destroy their species. They believed they were saving themselves. Koda slammed one of its 4 fists against the barrier. We saw the weapon. We saw humans testing it on a dead moon. It would have killed us all. A simulation, Do-hyun said quietly, created by the Vex and planted in your leaders' minds. Jinho felt sick. He thought of the moon base they had destroyed, of the gas giant they had blown up, of all the Kreltak who had died. They had been fighting an enemy who thought they were the aggressors, just as humans thought the Kreltak had attacked them first. The Vex wanted this, Do-hyun continued. They wanted your 2 species to destroy each other. With your gravity weapons and their plasma cannons, you would have turned dozens of worlds into wastelands. The Vex would have fed for centuries. Why are you telling us this? Jinho asked. Why interfere now? Do-hyun's expression changed, showing what might have been sadness. Because we made a mistake long ago. We seeded many worlds with life, guided evolution on many planets. We wanted to see what would develop, what kind of civilizations would arise. We did not consider that others might interfere with our children. So we are just your experiments, Koda growled. No, Do-hyun said firmly. You are independent species now. Your choices are your own. But we feel responsible for what has happened. We should have been watching more closely. We should have stopped the Vex sooner. Jinho looked at the Kreltak war leader. The alien was still intimidating, still strange and foreign. But now Jinho saw it differently. Not as a monster, but as another victim of manipulation. What happens now? Jinho asked. The war has already started. People on both sides have already died. My daughter is still gone. Now you must decide, Do-hyun said. Continue the war, knowing it was built on lies, or work to end it. Jinho and Koda stared at each other across the barrier. Jinho thought about the nemesis, about the power it had. They could still use it to destroy Kreltak worlds. They could still take revenge for New Seoul. But would that bring his daughter back? Would it help humanity in the long run? If we wanted to stop this war, Jinho said carefully, how would we begin? There is too much hatred now. Too much blood has been spilled. We can help, Do-hyun said. We have contacted your Earth government and the Kreltak Confederation leadership. We have shown them the same evidence you have seen. Many are resistant to the truth, but some are beginning to question the war. My people will not stop fighting easily, Koda said. We are warriors. We do not forgive attacks on our bases. And my people will not forget New Seoul, Jinho replied. Even if it was based on a trick, the destruction was real. Do-hyun nodded. We do not expect instant peace, but the first step is to stop further destruction. No more planets turned to wastelands. No more colonies wiped out. The architect waved a hand and the barrier between Jinho and Koda disappeared. They were now in the same room, with nothing separating them. Jinho tensed, ready for an attack. The Kreltak was much larger than him, with 4 powerful arms. Koda also seemed ready to fight, its black eyes fixed on Jinho, and its upper arms twitched. This is the choice, Do-hyun said. Continue the hatred, the fighting, the destruction, which is exactly what the Vex want, or find another way, Jinho took a deep breath. Then slowly, he extended his hand toward the Kreltak. It was a human gesture of peace, one the alien might not understand. But it was the only thing he could think to do. Koda looked at Jinho's outstretched hand with confusion. Then, to Jinho's surprise, the Kreltak extended one of its lower arms. The four-fingered hand was nearly twice the size of Jinho's, but it moved carefully, almost delicately. Their hands met. The Kreltak's skin was rough and hot to the touch, but the grip was controlled, not crushing. "I do not forgive the death of our warriors," Koda said. "But I do not wish to feed these Vex parasites with more Kreltak blood." "And I do not forgive New Soul," Jinho replied. "But I don't want humanity to become destroyers of worlds. That is not who we are." Du-Hyun watched them with those silver eyes. "It is a beginning," the architect said. "A small one, but real. Now we must bring this understanding to your people." Jinho nodded. He knew it would not be easy. Many humans would want to continue the war, to use the Nemesis and ships like it to get revenge. Many would not believe or care that they had been manipulated. The same would be true for the Kreltak. But as he looked at the alien whose hand he was shaking, Jinho felt something he had not expected. Not friendship, not yet, but a recognition of something shared. They had both been used. They had both lost people they cared about, and they both had the power to stop more destruction or to cause it. "We will try," Jinho said. "That is all I can promise." "We will try," Koda agreed. It was not peace. It was not forgiveness. But it was a start. And sometimes Jinho thought that is enough. 3 months passed since the meeting on the architect's ship. 3 months of difficult talks, angry accusations, and slow progress. Captain Jinho stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, but the ship was different now. Engineers had rebuilt parts of it. The main gravity cannon had been modified with help from the architects. It could no longer destroy planets. Instead, it could now create shields of artificial gravity that could protect worlds or trap enemy ships. But the biggest change was not in the ship. It was in the crew. Standing next to Jinho on the bridge was Koda, the Kreltak war leader. 4 other Kreltak worked alongside humans at different stations. It had not been easy to convince either side to work together, but they had managed. "A report from Earth, Captain," said Ju-Yun from communications. "The peace talks are continuing. 3 more Kreltak ships have joined our defense fleet." Jinho nodded. It was progress, slow but real. After he and Koda had returned to their people with the truth about the Vex, many had refused to believe it. Some still wanted war, but enough had listened to stop the immediate fighting. Now they were working towards something more lasting. "And the Vex?" Jinho asked. "Still no sign of their main fleet," Haewon replied from sensors. "But we've detected their energy signatures in 6 different systems. They're watching us." Jinho looked at Koda. The large alien's black eyes revealed nothing, but Jinho had learned to read the Kreltak's body language over the past months. Koda was worried. "They will attack soon," the Kreltak said. "They have lost their food source. Our war was feeding them well." Jinho agreed. The architects had explained more about the Vex. They didn't just start wars for food. They harvested the energy released when civilizations destroyed each other, and they had been doing it for thousands of years across many star systems. "We'll be ready," Jinho said. "The Nemesis and your ship, the Bloodfang, are the most powerful vessels in our combined fleet." Koda made a sound that Jinho now recognized as agreement. The 2 of them had formed an unlikely partnership. Not friendship exactly, but a working relationship built on respect and a shared enemy. A soft alarm sounded from Haewon Station. "Captain, we're detecting a spatial distortion, similar to an architect ship arriving, but different." Jinho and Koda moved to the sensor display. The readings showed a tear in space forming about 50,000 miles from their position. "Battle." "Stations," Jinho ordered. "Alert the fleet." The crew moved quickly, humans and Kreltak working side by side. In the 3 months they had trained together, they had become surprisingly effective as a mixed crew. The tear in space widened. A ship emerged, But it wasn't the smooth, ring-shaped vessel of the architects. This ship was jagged and asymmetrical, like a collection of broken glass pieces forced together. It glowed with a sickly green light. "Vex ship," Koda growled. "A harvester class." "How do you know?" Jinho asked. "The architects showed me images," Koda replied. "This is one of their biggest ships. It can absorb energy from destroyed worlds." The Vex ship was enormous, at least 3 times the size of the Nemesis. As they watched, smaller ships began to launch from it. Dozens, then hundreds of them. "They're heading for Earth," Haewon reported, "and sending ships toward Kreltak space, too." Jinho felt a cold certainty. The Vex weren't just attacking. They were launching a full invasion. With their manipulation discovered, they had decided to harvest directly. "Contact the architect station," Jinho ordered. "Tell Dohyun what's happening. Then signal all human and Kreltak ships. We need to stop those smaller vessels before they reach our home systems." The bridge erupted into action. Ju-un sent the messages while Subin prepared the weapons. Young-ho moved the Nemesis into position to intercept the Vex ships. "The Bloodfang will join us," Koda said, checking a display showing the Kreltak battlecruiser moving alongside them. "Together, we will crush these parasites." The next hours were chaos. The Nemesis and the Bloodfang led the combined fleet against the Vex swarm. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable. The Kreltak vessels had stronger weapons and better armor. Together they formed an effective fighting force. The modified gravity weapons of the Nemesis proved particularly useful. They couldn't destroy planets anymore, but they could create zones where the Vex ships couldn't move properly. The Kreltak would then sweep in with their plasma cannons, destroying the trapped enemy vessels. But there were so many Vex ships. For every one they destroyed, 3 more seemed to take its place. And the huge harvester ship remained untouched, hanging back from the battle. "We can't keep this up," Jinho said after 4 hours of fighting. His ship had taken damage, and 2 other human vessels had been destroyed. 3 Kreltak ships were also lost. "We need to hit the main ship." "Agreed," Koda said. "But our weapons have little effect on it. Its shields are too strong." Jinho studied the tactical display. The harvester ship was staying well away from the battle, protected by a screen of smaller vessels. "What if we used both our ships? A combined attack?" Koda considered this. It might work. The Bloodfang's main cannon could weaken its shields, and then your gravity weapon could disrupt its power core. "We'd have to get close," Jinho said. "Very close." "Yes," Koda agreed. "A death run, as my people call it. But if we succeed, the smaller ships might lose coordination." Jinho looked around the bridge at the human and Kreltak crew working together. 3 months ago, they had been bitter enemies. Now they were fighting side by side against a common threat. "Let's do it," he said. He turned to Young-ho. "Plot a course through their screen, fastest route to the harvester. We'll need all the speed we can get." Young-ho nodded and began programming the course. Subin prepared the gravity weapon, setting it to focus on a single point rather than a wide area. Jinho opened a channel to all ships in the fleet. "This is Captain Kim. The Nemesis and the Bloodfang are going to attack the Vex harvester directly. We need the rest of you to clear us a path and keep those smaller ships off our backs." The fleet acknowledged. Human and Kreltak ships began to form up, creating a wedge formation with the Nemesis and Bloodfang at its tip. "Ready?" Jinho asked Koda. The Kreltak placed one of its 4 hands on Jinho's shoulder. "If we die today, human, know that you die with the respect of the Kreltak Confederation." Jinho nodded. "And you with the respect of Earth." He turned to Young-ho. "Take us in. Maximum speed." The fleet surged forward, smashing into the Vex formation. Ships exploded on both sides as energy weapons crisscrossed space. The Nemesis and Bloodfang pushed through the chaos, heading straight for the massive harvester. Vex ships swarmed around them, firing constantly. The Nemesis's shields began to fail under the assault. "Shields at 30%, Ji-won reported. "Hull breaches. On decks 3 and 4. Keep going," Jinho ordered. They were getting closer to the harvester. Its green glow filled the view screen now. Suddenly, a huge blast hit the Bloodfang. The Kreltak ship spun sideways, trailing debris and atmosphere. "The Bloodfang is hit badly," Haywan called out. "Their engines are failing." Coda roared in anger and frustration. "My ship." Jinho made a quick decision. "We'll continue alone. Divert all power to the forward shields and the gravity weapon." The Nemesis pushed on, taking hit after hit but still moving. They were close now, close enough to see details on the harvester's strange surface. "Gravity weapon locked on target," Subin reported. "But we need to get closer for maximum effect." "How much closer?" Jinho asked. "Another 20,000 miles," she replied. "But our shields won't last that long under this fire." Jinho was about to order them to continue anyway, when a new alert sounded. "Spatial distortion forming," Haywan shouted. "It's huge." Next to the Vex harvester, space itself seemed to tear open. From the tear emerged the massive ring-shaped vessel of the architects. Do-hyun's ship had arrived. "The architects are hailing." "Us," Juin said. Do-hyun's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Kim, War Leader Coda, pull your ships back. We will handle the harvester." Jinho felt relief wash over him. "Acknowledged. All ships fall back and regroup." The human and Kreltak fleet began to withdraw, still fighting the smaller Vex ships, but no longer pressing toward the harvester. The Nemesis turned to help the damaged Bloodfang. As they retreated, Jinho watched the architect ship engage the Vex harvester. It was like watching God's battle. Weapons that defied understanding lashed out from both vessels. Space itself seemed to warp and bend around them. "Will they win?" Coda asked, watching the battle. "I don't know," Jinho admitted. "But either way, we've done something important here today." "What is that?" the Kreltak asked. Jinho gestured around, the bridge where humans and Kreltak worked side by side. "We proved the Vex wrong. They believed they could make us destroy each other. Instead, we're fighting together." Coda made the rumbling sound that Jinho now knew was Kreltak laughter. "Yes, perhaps that is the greatest victory." As they watched, the architect ship fired a beam of pure white energy into the heart of the Vex harvester. The massive enemy vessel shuddered, then began to break apart from the inside. The smaller Vex ship suddenly stopped moving as if they had lost all power. "They did it," Jinho said softly. "It's over." But he knew it wasn't really over. The war with the Kreltak had been stopped, but building true peace would take years. The Vex harvester was destroyed, but